Around the Edinburgh Tramway System, with Peter Mitchell, by Charlie Lawridge and Chris Romaine, published by Adam Gordon. Introduction. Peter Mitchell visited Scotland in June 1951 and stayed in Edinburgh for 2 weeks, during which time he also visited Glasgow, Aberdeen and Dundee. He took 193 pictures in Edinburgh and covered all the 27 services that were in operation. Service 18 had already been abandoned. While he visited Scotland in 1953, he did not visit Edinburgh but returned again in July 1955. By that time there were only 13 services still operating and he took a further 52 pictures. He did not visit Scotland in 1956 when the Edinburgh Tramway System was abandoned on the 16th of November that year. While we do not know the exact make of camera that Peter used, the images are of a very high quality and show all the various types of cars then in operation. While we will not dwell on the technical issues, there are pictures of many of the prototype semi-streamlined cars that were built before World War II. Also included are some interesting views of the ex-Manchester cars which were used almost exclusively on the long post office to Leavenhall route through Portobello and Musselburgh. Edinburgh, however, did have a somewhat random numbering system, with new cars taking the numbers of scrapped ex-cable cars. In order to help identify the cars, we have included a short index to all of the pictures in the book with a cross-reference to state what type of car it is. By the time Peter Mitchell took these pictures, all of the earlier cars that were still in service had been rebuilt and were totally enclosed. Most of the services crossed the city centre, and of the 27 services, 14 travelled along Princes Street, 3 on George Street with 1, service 24, using both of these streets. There were 7 that went north-south across either the Mound to Hanover Street or at the Princes Street, Waterloo Place Junction and down towards Leith. The other 2 services went from General Post Office, Waterloo Place, to Joppa and Leavenhall. Peter Mitchell walked around the city and took many views that are rarely seen. He also kept a detailed record of each photograph that he took, showing the exact location of the picture, usually by noting the nearest side street as well as the car number, service number, date and time. He covered all the routes, and as a result of this meticulous approach, he not only captured the trams but also interesting views of street scenes showing the people who used the trams as well as the other traffic and road vehicles of the time. In addition, these views show the various public buildings, shops and houses at that time. While some locations are little altered, elsewhere new developments have changed the feel and appearance, though much less than the destruction which has occurred in Glasgow since it lost its fine tramway system. The trams with their tracks, poles and wires together with the granite sets of the road surface plus a high proportion of well-designed buildings gave the streetscape a sense of order and quality. The tramcars themselves were neat and restrained in design, and the white and madder red livery gave them a proper presence in the city. The present-day bus fleet retains almost the same color, but they lack the orderliness of the trams. We will visit each service in turn and go from one end of a route to the other. However, the cars may be going in either direction. In addition, changes that occurred to the routes over time will be described in each service introduction and the text of the pictures as they occur. Both the writers of this book have a lifelong interest in tramways and share a belief that these pictures should, if at all possible, be published. We hope you will enjoy this book and that Peter's photographs may remind us of a time when life was perhaps hard, but simpler, more community-based, and when the streets of Edinburgh were dominated by magnificent tramcars. Acknowledgements. We would like to thank Hugh Taylor for permission to publish these pictures and for giving us access to the Peter Mitchell indexes. Without this information it would not have been possible to provide the detailed captions. We also wish to thank Neil Mackenzie for allowing us to copy excerpts from the 1923 rulebook. Our thanks are also due to Adam and Barney Gordon for their help in the preparation of this book. The original John Gilliam map has been included with permission of the copyright holder, the Light Rail Transit Association. Charlie Lawridge, Chris Romaine. Service 1. Corstorphine and Libberton. Commenced the 22nd of October 1922. Withdrawn the 28th of March 1954. We begin our photographic journey with Peter Mitchell at the Maybury, the terminus for Corstorphine. At that time this was open countryside, but is now built up and the Glasgow road is very busy. Car 157 is approaching the terminus from Libberton and the destination blind has already been changed. The route was extended from North Gyle to Maybury in 1937 but retained the name Corstorphine. The extension was to reduce a traffic hazard at North Gyle caused by reversing trams but was also in anticipation of development along Glasgow Road to Maybury. However, this did not happen until after the trams were withdrawn. About half a mile east of the Maybury we see car 58 on Glasgow Road heading towards the Corstorphine terminus. Many of the houses and buildings are still recognizable. For ease of track maintenance, the tracks are laid in granite sets and the tramway operator is responsible for maintaining the road up to 18 inches from the outer rail on both sides. Here, the remainder has been resurfaced by the Highway Authority in tarmac. Further east, car 269 is at Weston Place on Corstorphine Road heading west. The houses and shops are still there today and Peter Mitchell is standing opposite Weston Place in front of the Robert Louis Stevenson Memorial, which is out of shot to the right. With the spire of the former church on West Coates in the distance, car 157 passes the end of Magdala Crescent, which is behind the photographer. The buildings, including the one with fine stepped gables, have since been replaced by the large Scottish Enterprise building. We have now passed through the city centre and turned south. Looking back north from the junction of Gilmerton Road, car 164 is on Libberton Road near the terminus of erstwhile Route 18, which was abandoned in 1950. Followed by a Morris commercial lorry, it is travelling along the straight and level stretch of road before climbing Libberton Brae to the terminus at Libberton. This view has barely changed since. This view is looking down Libberton Brae opposite the end of Annakill Road, with car 189 climbing up towards the terminus, and the houses on the left of the picture are largely unaltered. It was on the bend behind 189 where runaway car 349 derailed and crashed into a front garden in June 1929. On Libberton Brae, car 71 is descending the Brae heading north to the city centre on its way to Corstorphine. The man walking into the road is about to catch the tram, and it was the law that all other road users had to stop to allow passengers joining or alighting from the trams to do so safely. Car 71 has arrived at the terminus on Libberton Gardens and is probably waiting for the previous car to reverse out of the terminal stub. The former bank on the corner of Libberton Drive to the left of the car survives but is now a pharmacy. The granite sets extend only to the limit of the tramway, less than the legal requirement of 18 inches. Service 2, Stenhouse and Granton via George Street, Leith Walk and Lower Granton Road. Commenced the 22nd of October 1922. Withdrawn the 14th of December 1952. Service 22, Stenhouse and Caledonian Station, Leith via George Street and Leith Walk. Commenced the 23rd of June 1923. Withdrawn the 14th of December 1952. Our journey on Service 2 starts at the corner of Lower Granton Road and Granton Square, where car 283 is about to cross over eastwards on its 7.5-mile journey to Stenhouse via Leith. Granton Pier is off picture to the left, with the railway line behind the fence where steam locos seem to be constantly shunting wagons. Note the power feed from the traction pole beyond the car and the ornate scrollwork on the nearest pole. Along Lower Granton Road we see car 340 on its way to Granton Square. The blind has already been changed to Stenhouse. The railway embankment to the left has since been removed and the levelled ground may be used for an extension to the new tram network between Newhaven and Granton. Car 331 is travelling west to Granton and is on the S-curve under Trinity Bridge, leaving Trinity Crescent and entering Lower Granton Road. There are some interesting period posters on the bridge abutments. This was a classic tram pinch, and locals knew to check the signal lights used by tram crews, but unwary drivers often got caught by an oncoming tram swinging around the bend towards them. We are now in Leith with car 342 heading to Granton on Lindsay Road with Leith Station on the left. The view is looking back along Commercial Street, but the car has come up North Junction Street, which is off to the right beyond the loading island. A German bomb landed on the junction behind the car in 1940, but the crater was filled in and the track replaced, with running resumed in just 4 days. On North Junction Street we see car 340 going south towards the foot of Leith Walk. The church on the left survives, but the decorative street lamps are now a memory, as is the Albion lorry in the background. At Picardy Place, where Route 2 meets Leith Walk, car 283 is travelling north as another car is passing the playhouse in the background on its way south towards Leith Street. The width of the street, the widest in the city, is exaggerated by the attractive pattern of the granite sets and absence of other vehicles. Here we find car 168 progressing west on George Street on service 22, which was one of only 3 services along this street. This view is from the top of hilly Frederick Street, where inbound service 24 from Cumney Bank joined services 2 and 22. Closure of these routes brought the end of trams on George Street. Also on George Street at the Castle Street junction looking west towards Charlotte Square, Peter Mitchell photographed car 340 on service 2 going east towards St. Andrew's Square. The profusion of private cars is evident. Cars now park in the middle of the street on relayed granite sets. This view is of a busy car 111 on service 22 on the southeast corner of Charlotte Square. The destination is Caledonian Station in Leith, where it will terminate. The building behind the car is on the corner of Charlotte Square and South Charlotte Street, which goes down to Princes Street. As it leaves Hope Street, car 147 is about to enter the 10-yard length of reserve track through the middle of the raised flower bed ahead. The Caledonian Hotel and Princes Street station is in front of the car, and part of the Rutland Hotel can be seen on the right. Car 290 is on service 2 on Gorgie Road heading west, passing under the railway bridge at Tynecastle. The conductor is standing on the edge of the rear platform hanging onto the grab pole. This view is from the south side opposite the end of MacLeod Street, just off picture on the left. Heading towards Stenhouse, car 272 is proceeding along Gorgie Road passing Glenley Cottages opposite Sawton Avenue. The nearby cottages survive, but the buildings behind the car have been replaced. On a wet day at Stenhouse Terminus we find car 151 on service 2 with an unknown car behind on service 3. Both cars are of the classic wooden body design which was the backbone of the fleet. The house on the left with the arch-headed doorway is still there. Service 3, Stenhouse and Newington Station via bridges. Commenced the 22nd of October 1922. Withdrawn the 29th of March 1953. Having just left the Stenhouse terminus, car 292 is going eastwards along Stenhouse Road on its 5-mile journey via Princes Street and the post office, where it will turn south to Newington Station. The 1930s bridge on Gorgie Road is where car 320 is crossing over the water of Leith. The bridge is still recognizable, but the buildings on the left have been replaced by a modern development of flats. Despite the destination blind having been prematurely changed, car 333 is on Gorgie Road going west towards Stenhouse with Ford's Road branching off on the left of the picture beside Sawton Park. Car 281 is on Gorgie Road heading west just east of Gorgie Depot. The depot consisted of 3 lies in a long, thin building with doors at both ends, the south end connected to the street whilst the rear doors led to a curved fan with terminal stub. The tenements at the end of Westfield Street behind the car remain, as does the railway bridge, which is still part of the South Suburban Line connection to Haymarket West Junction. The railway bridge spanning Dowry Road is the location of car 64 on its way eastwards. The spire of Dowry Church, seen in the background on the corner of Cathcart Street, has since been demolished. The contemporary billboard posters are quite interesting. The overhead wire has been diverted to one side due to the low height of the bridge. One of the advantages of trolley poles is that they could collect power from a wire as low as the car roof. Edinburgh Corporation replaced trolley wheels with carbon skids in 1943 to reduce arcing in the wartime blackout. These also reduced wear on the contact wire and were much quieter than the previous wheels. We are now south of the city centre on South Bridge, where car 147 is passing the end of Chambers Street on the left of the picture. This view is looking from the top of Infirmary Street opposite the university, which is hidden behind the other car on its way north. Car 336 is on Newington Road going south towards Newington Station. The view is from the end of Preston Street, west looking south. The RBS building just in front of the car is still there but is no longer a bank. Having left the terminus at Newington Station, car 138 is steadily climbing the long slope up Minto Street on its way north. The view is from the west side a little south of the junction of Blackett Avenue and Duncan Street. The hotel is still there. Car 335 is about to cross over at Newington Station beside Craigmillar Park Church, whilst car 68 on Service 1 is waiting to continue to Libberton. With 3 services terminating here and 2 more continuing to Libberton, this was often a scene of congestion. It could have been improved by installing a terminal stub in a nearby side street, as was done at Morningside Station and Piers Hill. Newington Station closed to rail passengers in 1962. Service 4, Slateford and Piers Hill via York Place and London Road. Commenced the 29th of April 1923. Withdrawn the 3rd of March 1953. This time we are starting at the east end of the route where car 106 is on the short stub on Northfield Broadway. It is waiting to turn onto Piers Hill Terrace on Portobello Road before heading west towards the city centre. Although the seats have been turned, the destination blind has yet to be changed. The houses on right of picture are still there. Car 285 is on London Road travelling west at Abbey Hill Junction. The track going off to the right is entering Montrose Terrace, continuing to Regent Road and the post office used by services 20 and 21. In this busy scene, car 155 is on the east side of St Andrew Square and about to enter South St Andrew Street. This view is still recognisable today, albeit with a new generation tram stop. SMT buses were parked all round St Andrew Square until the new bus station opened in 1957. Note the 2 Daimlers on bus service 5. Chandwick Place at Coates Crescent is the location of car 106 as it proceeds east. Note how the granite sets are uneven, the bane of motorists. This scene is still largely unchanged today and is now a stop on the new tramline. Car 179 is on Dowry Road going west to Slateford, passing the end of Orwell Street. The United Yeast Company building is long gone, but the tenements behind the car are still there. The car behind is 59, heading east, also on Service 4. At the top of Ardmillan Terrace, car 139 is about to make a right turn onto Slateford Road. The view is from the end of Angle Park Road and the house on the left remains. The attractive scroll work to the top of the traction pole is found all over the system except for some of different design on the former Leith system lines. Slateford Road included the unusual feature of a short length of interlaced track at the Caledonian Brewery, where it is being negotiated by car 336 heading east. This unusual track layout allowed a lorry to park outside the brewery without blocking the tramline. Traffic signals were not required as the visibility was good in both directions. Slateford Road is where we see car 305 on its way west to the terminus. The front dash and side panel have clearly suffered some previous damage. Some cars show signs of collision damage on the front near side corner, perhaps due to the overhang on sharp curves. The 3-story block on the left with the semicircular door pediment has been cleaned and repainted in recent times. Car 261 is on Slateford Road shortly before arriving at the terminus, but with the blind already changed. Looking a little more modern, 261 was one of the final batch of wooden standards. It was the only wooden standard to have straight flush side panels before the introduction of the domed roof standards. The church behind the car is on the corner of Hutchison Crossway, and the house with the dormer window has since been refurbished. We are now at Slateford Terminus and car 301 is ready to leave on its 4 3/4 mile journey to Piers Hill. The house on the left is still there with Hutchison Terrace off picture to the left. The terminus was adjacent to Slateford Station, which is still open and served by trains to Glasgow via Shotts. Service 5, Morningside Station and Piers Hill via Grange Road and Bridges. Commenced the 22nd of October 1922. Withdrawn the 31st of October 1954. This is the Piers Hill terminus at Northfield Broadway, where car 82 is right at the end of the reversing stub, presumably to leave room for another car in front. It looks like one of the top deck droplights has failed, which became a widespread problem in latter days. The houses in the background on Piers Hill Terrace are still there, but the derelict building on the left has been replaced. Car 195 is on London Road going west and has stopped to pick up passengers. It is just past the Meadowbank Sports Ground and before Cambusnethan Street, which is out of sight on the right. The houses on the left are still there. We are now on Grange Road, where car 360 is travelling west as it passes Grange Road Church with Causeway side behind the car on left. Note the total lack of other traffic on a summer Saturday afternoon. After leaving Grange Road in the background, car 96 is on Beaufort Road on its way west just before Palmerston Road and being chased by a Rover P4. The house on the left is still there. Note the slipboard, via Bridges and Grange Road, which was painted in white lettering on a green background. The view here at Strathern Road is still recognisable today, but at the time of Peter Mitchell's visit we find car 119 going west almost at the junction with White House Lane. Turning right from Greenhill Gardens onto Church Hill is car 120. It is one of the earlier batch of domed roof standards with deeper droplights and the absence of vents to the front of the roof. The overhead in this picture shows the advantage of trolley collection in that, unlike bow or pantograph, fewer span wire pull-offs are needed on sharp vents. This scene is still identifiable today and the building behind the car is called St. Benet's. Service 6, Marchmont Circle. Commenced the 22nd of October 1922. Withdrawn the 27th of May 1956. At 3.5 miles, the circular Service 6 was one of the shortest but enjoyed high loadings. Car 229 is on the anti-clockwise circle on Marchmont Road proceeding south passing the end of Thurleston Road. Looking northwards on Marchmont Road we note car 62 heading south between Warrender Park Road and Marchmont Terrace. It is passing the array of fine tenements including number 43 with the distinctive Art Deco barbell emblem on the wall. Note how clean the buildings were in comparison with those in the more industrial parts of the city. Car 89 is on Marchmont Road having just turned right from Melville Drive in a fine rural setting within the heart of the city unperturbed by traffic. Peter Mitchell is on the south side looking back towards Melville Drive. At the same location, car 230 is proceeding in the opposite direction as it turns from Marchmont Road into Melville Drive. Note the early Scammell mechanical horse on the right. Travelling clockwise, car 198 has left Melville Drive and is now in Brougham Place on the last leg of its journey to Tollcross. This view is from the east side looking towards Tarvett Street on the left behind the car. Car 234 has left Northbridge and turned left into Princes Street on its anti-clockwise journey. Peter Mitchell is standing in the road in front of the North British Hotel looking east. Note the expensive motor car, the Southdown Leyland bus on tour alongside and the Bedford Ob parked behind also on a tour. This photograph from the east side of Northbridge shows car 190 as it is crossing High Street. The view is looking back north and in the distance is the North British Hotel, now the Balmoral and unchanged to this day. Note the Atkinson lorry following on the right. Clark Street at St. Patrick's Square is where car 55 is travelling south and the view from the east side looking north is very much the same today. The bus behind is on Service 8 which was converted from tram operation 3 months previously. To complete the circle, we are back on Grange Road where car 238 is going west passing the post box in the stone wall. At the Lauder Road junction which is still there. Service 7, Liberton and Stanley Road via Junction Street and Ferry Road. Commenced the 20th of June 1922. Withdrawn the 11th of March 1956. Service 7 started from Liberton on the south side of the city and car 23 is at the terminus on Liberton Gardens. It is waiting to cross over with car 71 waiting behind. The terminal stub was sufficient to hold 2 cars if necessary, but grooves in the tarmac suggest some overruns have occurred. Four years later, car 12 is also at the terminus on Liberton Gardens waiting to cross over. The view is looking north to the corner of Liberton Drive in front of the car, and the building with shops behind the car is still there. This was the very last picture that Peter Mitchell took of the Edinburgh trams. Car 169 is starting to climb Liberton Brae with Mayfield Road Junction, known as Liberton Dams, behind the car on the left. The destination blind has been changed prematurely. Note the flat stone slabs set into the road to make it easier for horses and carts to climb up the hill. The long straight of Liberton Road with Gordon Terrace on the left is where car 160 is pictured on its city-bound journey. It carries hand-painted advertisements which were applied from 1952. Notable is the absence of motor traffic, apart from a split-screen Morris 1000, even at this late date in the life of the tramway. Craigmillar Park at the end of Lygon Road to the left is where northbound car 63 is stopping to pick up a passenger. The large house survives. Car 18 is on Nicholson Street heading south at the junction with West Nicholson Street and West Richmond Street. While a still picture does not capture the visual effect of several trams moving at the same time, it is still an impressive sight. The building on the corner of West Nicholson Street is still there. This shot is of car 30 coming down the east end of Ferry Road, and Peter Mitchell is standing at the South Fort Street junction looking west. All of the buildings on the right are still there. Car 226 is negotiating the busy junction from Ferry Road into Newhaven Road as it goes north. It is just possible to see the hanging poker top left, which changes the overhead frog by a diverging trolley pole. Points are electrically operated by an overhead skate, out of sight, activated by a turning car drawing power, whereas a car going straight through would coast past the skate. This required great driving skill, especially approaching traffic lights or a stop sign. A resetting skate would be fitted after the tram had cleared the junction. All of the buildings in the picture survive. We are now on Stanley Road before Park Road, where the single track turns north into Craighall Road. Westbound car 21 fits well into the streetscape, and the wall with distinctive pillars still exists. Note the isolation switch box incorporated into the base of the traction pole on the left.